Hello Marvel players and welcome to a brand new video where we're gonna dive into Marvel Rivals. It's been a long time since we last covered a Marvel game after the fall of Marvel's Avengers and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy not having any DLC or extra content. But thanks to a friend of mine, I was able to get a code to try out the new Marvel Rivals closed beta. So I want to give you now my impressions after playing it. So right off the bat, you will hear a lot of people say that this is essentially Overwatch but Marvel. And as someone who has played Overwatch and currently plays a lot of Overwatch too, I have to say that I agree. There's a lot of inspiration to Overwatch, not just on the gameplay style, but like everything, the menus, the cosmetics, the entire energy of Overwatch is here. But that's not a bad thing. Cool animated menus, lots of vibrant colors. There's a hero gallery similar to Overwatch. Each character enters with this cool intro animation that you can skip if you've already seen it so many times, but you can see them in the skin that you have them equipped on. The presentation again is fantastic right off the bat in these menus. I think when it comes to the appeal of starting out the game, it's really great. It does seem like there's space for a lot of outfits for all the characters. Currently there's an outfit for all the 23 playable characters in the beta, but some of them are a bit more unique while others are just simply a recolor. But still, they give you the option to at least unlock an outfit during the beta. Now apart from that, there's other cosmetics like sprays, similar to Overwatch, and emotes as well. And of course, as you go to each hero, it's going to tell you information about the hero, how to play it, and all that kind of stuff. You also have specific achievements that you can unlock with these heroes. So overall, I think the presentation here is good. There's currently a battle pass system as well in the game. In the beta, it's flowing pretty fast for me because they made it faster since it's the last days of the beta and I just barely managed to get in. But overall, battle pass track similar to what you can expect. There's pretty decent amount of currency. I don't know if they're actually going to keep this amount of currency, because there's a decent amount of currency to earn from the battle pass to unlock a skin. So of course the big question is going to be what will be the final prices for skins, because at the end of the day, when it comes to the beta, they want you to test everything, so they make things more easier to earn so you can try it all out. But at the same time, they're tracking the progress of how fast we're earning this stuff, so they might slow down a little bit on that. And that's where my biggest concern with the game right off the bat is, because when you go to the hero gallery, there's a little button that says own and unown heroes. That means that you will not be able to have just all the heroes. You will have to unlock them. I'm not saying that you should panic, that you're gonna have to buy every single hero. I don't think it's time to panic yet. That said, I think they could do something similar to Overwatch 2 launch, where you had all these heroes from Overwatch 1 and some other new ones as well launch with the game. And then the future DLC characters that start coming in, you have to unlock them, whether it's purchasing or grinding for them. So I could see that happening here because so far they already have so many solid characters. On 23 right now in the beta, and they also announced Dr. Doom, which would make it 24, but he's not playable yet. But yeah, I think essentially if I can launch with a good amount of heroes for everyone to play with right off the bat, then I think it will be fine. Of course, we have to see ultimately how much it's going to cost each hero, because on top of that you also have to unlock cosmetics for those heroes. But yeah, it's something I wanted to make note of, because right now Rivals is really great in that you can play all these heroes, but there's a possibility that it may not be as seamless as it seems right now, because the feature is right there in the menus that some heroes you will not own unless you get them. Now in terms of the gameplay, so far in the beta there's a capture point map and a payload type of map where you have to move something along until the end goal of the objective. The objective is very similar to Overwatch, that's no different here. In terms of the execution, I think the capture maps need some work, because it feels like the maps are rather small, like there's not much playground for players. Usually everyone just has to get to the center and start fighting. There's not like enough playing around the halls, shortcuts, sneaking around enemies. There's not enough room for that, and that's one of my issues with the maps so far in the game. And I think that's part of it's also the issue with the graphic style of the game. In terms of the menus presentation, the graphics look great, everything looks cool. But when you're actually playing in gameplay, I feel like the game lacks like a certain punch, like a certain color. Like there's not enough visual flair on what's going on in terms of enemies hitting at you, teammates doing special abilities. Like when you're watching the gameplay right now, you're probably confused because that's how I was when I was looking at the gameplay myself from other people. I'm very confused about what's going on. What is everyone doing? Because I feel like the visual effects here are not very clear on what is happening on screen. I think part of it's also because they made it so that the visual effects are all red or blue, so it can get a bit confusing about what's going on screen. Of course, this can also happen in Overwatch when you're watching Overwatch in action, but I feel like in Overwatch you don't have as many special effects going on as you do here because everyone's like a superhero here. And this is also very important when you're playing characters like Rocket Raccoon. You have all these other assistant robots, devices between a couple of characters that is not quite clear that which one is on your side, which one is not. And this is also a problem when there's just so much going on the screen, because you have characters like Loki, for example, that can clone himself and have all these hollow projections, copies of himself. But then you also have Namor that can put this squid type of turrets as well. So when more and more things get added into the map, it gets more confusing about what's going on. Now, in terms of the heroes themselves, I think they're pretty fun. I think they have very interesting kits. I do think some could definitely use some improvements because they fall behind among other heroes. Scarlet Witch, for example, I think felt like one of the most powerful. She has a beam that can focus on non-stop on a target, similar to Moira or Symmetra in Overwatch. But she also has a very powerful ult that blows up to anyone nearby, kind of similar to Diva's ult attack in Overwatch. Again, a big explosion. What's interesting to me is that some characters have a lot of abilities in their kit, while others don't have as much as sophistication. For example, Star-Lord is one of those characters I really wanted to play, but I was quite disappointed. In terms of Overwatch, it's meant to be like the Tracer of this game with a Soldier 26 ult, which is fine. The problem is that Star-Lord, mostly his abilities just don't seem to help him much. He has like two mobilities, like going up and down. He has mobility to spin in the air to avoid an attack or just to move around. But it doesn't feel as powerful or as protective as, say, Tracer that can blink pretty fast across the other side of the map, or recall back in time and save herself some health. Star-Lord doesn't have that, so instead Star-Lord ends up feeling very squishy. Now there's other cool things like, say, Hulk, that he starts as Bruce Banner, but you can immediately turn into Hulk and then you can upgrade yourself. But if you die as Hulk, you don't die, you instead go back to Bruce Banner and you can shoot with your little gun. Again, similar to Tiny Diva when she loses her mech and you're just walking around. Very similar system to that. Now, Doctor Strange, for example, is one of those that I found most interesting because you have to play around with Dark Soul energy. The more shots you get in, the more your Dark Soul close range attack charges up, and you can use it on fights when people are close range. And then Doctor Strange can sort of self-heal himself that way. He also has this big fire ring shield to protect himself. Like, he's overall a pretty well-rounded character in that sense. And of course, he can levitate for the time being. Magneto has a similar vibe as well as a tank character. He has a shield. He can pop similar to, say, Reinhardt in Overwatch. But he mostly plays like Sigma for the rest of his kit because he has his ult basically pushes him up similar to Sigma's ult, and then he just throws this big rock at people. I mean, you will definitely see a lot of characters that are basically a mix of different things from Overwatch kits. And again, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think Overwatch has a pretty cool kit of characters. And the big difference of this game is third person, so people that just don't like doing first person with Overwatch, well, this is a great alternative if you want a third person version of that, which is again is another great difference. But overall, I think every character has their unique strength. I like that each one felt unique and different from each other. None of them felt like a copy to one another. Sure, maybe some feel copies of Overwatch, but aside from that, between the actual heroes of Rivals, they are pretty unique themselves. Now, the only unfortunate thing about the current beta is that there's only 2 map locations. There's 2 maps for the payload mode and 1 map for the capture point, but between capture and payload, it's one of them is just Asgard, so you'll be there in Asgard most of the time. So it's possible that maybe we just haven't experienced more interesting maps and maybe overall better map design than these ones, and maybe that will hopefully help feel better the visuals. Overall, I think the gameplay itself is fun. I think the combat is fun. If you enjoy Overwatch, you'll enjoy this. If you don't like Overwatch because of first person but want to try a third person version of it, then you'll probably enjoy this. Another thing of note is that there will be cross-platform. Already there is on the beta, so you don't have to worry about having your friends play on other consoles. That's a great feature. I imagine if the game is going to have purchasable heroes, then it's going to be free to play. So that will definitely also help the player health of the game. I think there's a lot of potential here for a good player health of game. The big factor here is going to be how progression works in the game overall to keep players engaging, and of course balancing with the game. And the tricky thing with balancing is that in a game like this, like Overwatch, balancing never ends. There's always going to be balance here, balance there, so it's going to require them to really be good at making decisions when it comes to balancing, especially when they keep adding new heroes as well. But most of all, it's going to be the progression to see how you can keep players engaged playing the game and reward them for their playtime, while at the same time manage to make enough earning out of the game to keep the game afloat. That's going to be the 2 major key things here. But yeah, if you enjoy Marvel, if you enjoy my time with Marvel's Avengers, this is not the same type of game because there's no gear and all that kind of stuff, but it does have a pretty fun, fluid combat that you can enjoy here, especially when you didn't get to play some of these characters on Marvel's Avengers. You get to play them here, like Doctor Strange and Wanda. And like I said, if you enjoy Overwatch, then you'll be right at home with this one as well. Until next time, we'll see how things go for Marvel Rivals as things progress. See you next time.